welcome, folks, to another edition of RSF Radio. I'm your host, Joe Monday, and today is February 22nd. You're listening to RSF Radio, the podcast where we talk about what's been going on the front page of our Street Fighter throughout the week. Before that, it's been kind of a weird week for me. I've been listening to a lot of old 90s music, and I got on that topic because I was reminded this weekend, I had a birthday party this weekend. It's been a rough week. It's been touch and go all week. But anyway, I had a birthday party this weekend. I'm all friends over. We got on the topic of, now that's what I call music. If you're not familiar with that is, it was just, you see, back in the age of music, when music was a thing that you printed and held in your hands, there was a company that sold these CDs that had about like 13 tracks on them of the hits, the most hit music of the time. And there were a lot of them. And the question I asked everyone who came to the party, I was like, well, how many? And I'll ask you, the listener. So you can pause it right after I'm done with this question and maybe like take a guess. Post it in the comments of the YouTube video or whatever you want to do. Post it in the reviews or whatever you want to do. But my question to you is, how many mainline, now that's what I call musics, have there been? How many releases? Now this doesn't include special editions and this doesn't include holidays. I think my clue to everyone was special editions, which I didn't really even look up what the special editions could have been. It might have been like, now that's what I call hip hop or something like that. It doesn't include those. Just titular, now that's what I call music. How many are those special editions? There were 45. 45 special editions, which doesn't include holidays. So mainline, take your guess. I'll wait. Okay, all done guessing? 65. There have been 65, now that's what I call musics. 4 of them were released last year. There was one released earlier this year. How does a company that's is blowing my mind, because to think of the business model of that company is just to collect 13 or so songs, put them on an album, and then sell it to someone, an actual disc. Like, that's still their business model. In 2018, who could possibly be buying that? That would make the concept of holding on to the licensing or going after the licensing for this music to make that make any kind of reasonable business sense. The kicker to me is that we looked up the track list of the first Now That's What I Call Music, and the track list goes as such. There is a hard swing on that first Now That's What I Call Music that was something that I have never seen a harder swing in any kind of playlist. But it went from, I think it was track 12 into 13, goes something like Aqua's Barbie Girl directly into Radiohead's Karma Police. Such a hard swing. Like, who listened to that? As a businessman, who's listening to that? Like, did anyone before they printed that disc listen to it the whole way through and go, ooh, 12 to 13, are we sure about that? And then someone was like, get it out the door. I paid for the licensing. Just get it out of here. And then to print a CD like that and then continue to be in business, man, what a time. What a time we live in. And to still be in business. There were 4 released last year. Fucking insane. Well, folks, enough reminiscing about the past. Let's get into the present. Or still talking about the past, because these were posts made to our Street Fighter. But they're talking about the things that are happening right now. This is a very Now That's What I Call podcast. That's the title of this podcast. Anyway, let's get into it. First things first. Here is a video from the FGC philosopher on how to grow a local fighting game community. It's a kind of an interview thing where he talks about what it means to run a local and operate a local and kind of everything that goes along with that. thinking about what you need to run a local, like what kind of supplies that you need, what kind of outreach do you need to have within your own community, like how much work do you need to do to make sure people get out to your event. All that kind of stuff is talked about in this interview, and it's a good one to listen to if you plan on or want to get into something like that. If there's no local where you are and you're thinking, man, we could really use a local, give this one a listen. It's quality material. And another thing going on, so I didn't realize this was happening. I knew who this person was. So for Absolar, he's been working with New Challenger a lot to make some videos. He's done coaching, done a bunch of that stuff, working with those guys, just getting people from brand new fighting games to the next level, to be somewhat competent. And I didn't realize this, but he's working with SRK right now and doing a video series for them. And the first one was out, a 5-minute focus on how to get more out of training mode. A lot of things were ideas, like spins on ideas that were presented in Geese Gym, and it's good information. It's highly recommend listening to that if you find yourself in the position of, if you are just starting out fighting games, or if you want to point someone in like a video direction of how do I start playing fighting games, and they're going, well, I don't want to read things on the internet, I'd rather have it in a video format. This is a place to tell them to get to, or check out that guy's channel, because Frabsler he's prolific in terms of the amount of tutorial videos he posts. Alright, speaking of leveling up though, this post was posted by Chunbelievable. He's been around for a while, actually. I recognize that name even back from the RS4 days. And he basically wrote up a long story about what it took to hit Diamond. So maybe if you find yourself on the edge of hitting Diamond, maybe you want to... Things that he talks about in this are like throwing out whole parts of his game. Just to totally do a reset on how he thinks about the game, how he thinks about approaching fighting games. It's an interesting read if you might find yourself in that position. If you're like you're hitting a roadblock, maybe doing some of the things that Chunbelievable suggests can maybe be the thing to bring you up to the next level. And I highly recommend reading that if you are trying to level up, definitely. Now, if you're trying to level up with Vega, I think Raketsu might have some words for you, because the next topic is a pretty long-form post written by Nicholas Taylor on Event Hubs. It was an interview series with Raketsu on, hey, what about Vega? What's going on with Vega? What's the Vega like? And you might remember similar posts, he did the similar thing with Alex Myers and Cammie. There was also a long-form article like this with Ixion 90 and about Nash. Long-form posts. I love them. I love stuff like this. And it's a really long breakdown and really detailed breakdown about where Vega is lacking. And not just Raketsu saying that because he plays Vega and wants him to be better. He's just saying, well, he does suggest some changes that can happen to Vega to make him a better character, but it's mostly just him being pretty honest about, well, why is it like this? Because it doesn't necessarily benefit Vega. It doesn't really have a tick throw, which is one of the reasons why personally I don't like the Vega in this game. I got too used to Street Fighter 4 Vega's car throw. That thing was like SPD range. That thing was fantastic. I loved it. I played Vega like a grappler in Street Fighter 4, as you do. And even though Vega has a command grab, he doesn't have like a tick throw in this game, and I don't know. Raketsu brings that up, and it explains exactly why that's a problem specifically for Vega. And he also brings up things like his claw and his claw normals, and how they're not really cancelable, but also they don't have range. So what side of the scale are we trying to balance here with these normals? If they don't have the range, they don't have the reach, and you can't cancel them into specials, what are they really used for? Which is why you find a lot of claw players staying with the claw off, because you just get more damage that way in a lot of instances. Alright, well, I won't spoil the rest of the article because he goes into a lot of detail as to what are the problems with Vega. So if you currently play Vega and you want some validation on why you think Vega is bad, that might be a good thing to read. Speaking of bad characters, next topic is a matchup chart by Gunfight. The Alex matchup chart. That's right, folks. So, if you follow Gunfight on Twitter, he's been making a lot of posts about the current state of Alex, what Alex is capable of, how he fares in matchups. I found that the one thing that you want to bring up, if you ever want your mentions to, your notifications to explode, if you want your inbox to be full AF, just mention any kind of matchup. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, just say anything, because guess what? You're wrong about that matchup. Even if it's the mirror match and you say 5-5, your opinions, capital O opinions, will be shoved down your throat, for sure. And that was kind of the case here with his timeline after this. However, I'll say Alex, not a very good character, and even with Season 3, he got a little bit better. V-Trigger 2 doesn't really afford him much of anything. It doesn't really do what Alex players would want it to do. It doesn't do what I wanted to do. I wanted it to have uncrouchable setups off of the DDT, but there are no setups on block or on hit, which lead to uncrouchable setups, which is unfortunate. However, people tried to make it work. Ends up it doesn't work. Go back to V-Trigger 1, because Alex's V-Trigger 1 is actually pretty damn good. And there's no real reason to change what's not broken. And he lists out the matchups. Some of the easier matchups: Zaku, Balrog, Ryu, Ken, Laura, Bison, Fong. That all kind of makes sense. But the harder matchups being characters with good range or good mobility. Birdie, Chun, Ed being up there was kind of a surprise to me. Colleen, Rashid, of course, Gael. And he also mentions that, the 6.5s could, and the 5.5s could really go one way or the other, depending on, maybe what your opinion is on the matchup. So he leaves a little bit of leeway there, and don't use this as like a hard and fast rule of just saying like, oh, this is a broken matchup, because really, no matchups are broken and are all that broken in Street Fighter V, except for Zangief Minot. But that's all I'll say about that. Please don't at me. Alright, so moving on to the next topic. Speaking of broken characters, in fact, Arliath made a fantastic tech video. I love tech videos like this. It's great. And basically, what it is a very long video explaining V-Trigger cancels in response to a V-Reversal, and how you can punish if you notice that the V-Reversal has happened. And he gives instances of what if you pop the V-Trigger before, what if you pop it after, what can you get off of basically every V-Reversal. It's a lot of really great information, specifically for Abigail, specifically against the entire cast. It's a long video, so if you play Abigail, then I would recommend watching all of it and getting used to like all of the timings and everything that's going on there, if you want to have punishes like that. Or if you don't play Abigail and you just want to know how to fight against Abigail, maybe see what he can cancel out of to really make things troublesome for you if you try to V-Reversal. So it's a great video from Arliath. Also, just give that dude a follow on Twitter if you're not. He's one of the FGC Tech people that if you don't follow him on Twitter, you should, if you care about like moving forward with tech in Street Fighter V. There's a couple other ones I could mention. I've mentioned on the show a number of times. Javits, Hatson, Weed, just to name a few. But Arliath is definitely one of those guys. Give that guy some love. Subscribe to his channel as well. It's all good stuff. Okay. Speaking of Abigail and some turncoat motherfuckers, Brutus @2 Abigail Brute. Why? Posted a pretty it's a pretty basic unblockable setup. Now, Abigail in V-Trigger 1 gains the ability to bust up armor, and basically what this setup does, and the reason why I don't love it so much, is that it relies on your opponent not quick rising, which I just don't love that. I think that's like a cheap setup in terms of Abigail charging up a big old hard punch right in front of your face, because usually people want to get out of dodge in that situation. They'll back rise most of the time, and even in a back rise instance, the crouching hard punch that you've already started charging up would whiff, so that's double bad. I just wanted to bring it up because, Brutus, you're a bad person and you should feel bad about yourself in the future of Abigail. Turncoat motherfucker. Anyway, next cool thing, some good tech from Way of the Scrub. Basically a long breakdown on what's new with Cammie. It covers kind of all of her V-skill stuff, what she is capable of doing now, the changes made to her in Season 3 with Arcade Edition, lists some B&Bs, and some setups at the end of it. It's a good chunk of a video just to say, oh, okay, that's the Cammie stuff. It's pretty basic stuff, but it's the Cammie stuff, you know. She's pretty straightforward, I think. And this video kind of covers all the very straightforward stuff. So if you want to play some Cammie, if you want to get used to her new setups or know what is punishable from her, then check out that video. It's 6 minutes, so it's a good hunk of video. Alright, so next bit of tech. It's just tech heavy. It's tech heavy cast. In this instance, this was an interesting share from Lancer Bro. Shout out to all my hammer bows out there, or my battle bards, if you catch that lingo. Lancer Bro posted this quick little gif of Guile throwing an EX Sonic Boom at Sakura's EX Hadoken. And he asks, why did this happen? Because your mind would think, oh, both of those projectiles hit twice, the EX Boom and the EX Hadoken will cancel out when they meet mid-screen between us. I can advance as the Sakura player. But in this instance, no. In fact, both of those projectiles are moving at a clip, and the EX Sonic Boom passes through the EX Hadoken. It's just a weird thing that happens with speed and hurt boxes and how those projectiles interact whenever they clash with something. It's some funky hitbox stuff. So, which I would always suggest whenever something looks weird or looks like it's broken, hop into SF5 Sim, simulate that, because you can just do it. You can just tell the computer, do this thing, and you can look at all the hitboxes frame by frame and see what's actually happening. I always recommend people check out SF5 Sim, because that's a good way to like dig into the nitty gritty, because it's all there. I actually don't think it was posted in the sub, but we did post that. No, I am going to talk about that later. Never mind. It's just a little tease. Little tease. Okay. Time to get into the thick of the jungle. We're going to dive deep, folks, into some Blanca Tech. So that's right. Not only did the sub blow up with Blanca memes, it also blew up with Blanca Tech. There's been a lot of that. I think we all saw what Blanca was capable of previously, and we're all experiencing this now. That Blanca has some stuff that he's still a scrub killer. Guess what? If you thought if that's how you used to play him, that's what he is. He can get away with a whole lot of stuff, but also he has some pretty cheeky business. And first video is shared is a pretty much day one gimmick. I love how all of the gimmicks start off with the coward crouch into the lift, coward crouch punches that you get the juggle after, because this is just day one stuff. And I saw this all over. Like, I think Bamochi had a post like this, Zien had a post like this, and it's the raid lift followed by stand hard punch, hop forward into crouching medium kick. And to depending on where you hit them, Blanca can go either side. And I saw that on at least 2 or 3 people's Twitter posts of haha lol Blanca, and it's like, yeah, my man, like, this is day zero tech. Get to the next level. What else do you got? But what's important about this is being able to see like where that hard punch is hitting and being familiar with it enough to block it. This video, the first one in particular, it's a quick video, but it's a well edited video of setup, and it's very quick, and it shows you a plethora of setups that if you want to get into a day one Blanca, it's probably where you would want to look. Okay, a little bit more than that. Still, I actually don't know if this came out day 1 or day 2. I don't know how quickly BAF works. I want to say it was day 1, but like maybe like a late day 1, because they don't let him stop working. But I've mentioned Baffoul before and recommended his channel before in the past, and I will always recommend him for new players and people just trying to get into or understand new characters. His character work that he does is comprehensive, to say the least. Basically covers Blanca's anti-airs, mix-ups, combos, setups, everything that he's ever done for any other character. This is for SRK, so it's pretty much formatted in the same way that he's been doing things for quite some time. And a lot of it he tries to keep as optimized as possible, and he's very open to people who tell him, no, that's not optimized, change this. And he goes, oh yeah, like that should be changed, and there's like notes that are made. It's good stuff. So I would recommend checking this out for sure if you are looking to play Blanca or play against Blanca. Alright, next up is a guide from Rufflemonger. Kind of the tricky stuff. This is more Oki in setups. BAF doesn't really get much into Oki all that much, and this explores more like your frame setups, right? Your frame kills to get that perfectly timed meaty. I've been seeing a lot of people say that like crouching medium punch is like a pretty good meaty in terms of frame data afterwards and usually how you can set it up. Back rise or quick rise. It's just a good normal in general. I saw Vest talking about that a lot. You might think, oh, knees, I want to do the knees, but like where it leaves you afterwards, not very good. But like crouching medium punch, that's a good one. That's your good one. That's the actual ticket. Standing medium kick might be super easy to confirm, like day 1 confirms, right? Like if you have half a brain and you are watching the video game with your eyeballs, you can confirm a standing medium kick into the target combo. It's very easy. The window for it is enormous. But I will say, if you're looking for any more Blanca Tech, I started doing this because I was, and still am, just continually pissed off at people's penchants for solely posting tech on Twitter. I get it. Like, I get why you would want to do that. Like, all of that makes sense. Like, you want to get those Twitter followers, you want to get that information out there right now. Twitter is good for that. Like, that's all well and good. That's wholesome. I agree with you. But Twitter is so hard to search through. So what I've just been keeping an eye on Twitter, and if I see any Blanca Tech, I'm throwing it in here. So this has quite a lot of Blanca Tech, ranging from what Blanca can do versus how characters can punish Blanca, or what Blanca can punish for characters trying to escape things. I think I want to give some shout outs to Draken DeBose, also Mo Hanohukedama, and also I can't really pronounce these names very well. I understand that. You know how Twitter names can be. Javits, Hamiko. I think there's some Viserius in here. A lot of people. This is an amalgamation of data that were never like tagged with the hashtag Blanca or anything like that. They were just straight dumped in Twitter. And if people are just dumping vids into Twitter, there's not necessarily a good way of finding those vids after like this week. They'll be gone, basically. And like, if you don't follow that person, like, what the fuck? Who knows what's going on? And so all of this is just all of that stuff. I think there's some high fight in here as well. Probably some hats and weed, of course. There's a lot. There's a lot of just quick hits with the Blanca Tech. I think there's like some optimal punishes, probably some ambiguous setups. If I see it on the Twitter, if you see it on, see something, say something. If you see something on Twitter that's not in this list, or just at me at Super Joe Monday and just say like, here's this video, or at the Reddit SF, just say, here you go, add this to the bunch, and there it will be. Because in my opinion, where else is it gonna go? It'll just be a lost time and be impossible to search. Where like, I get it, like people see it now and they know it now, and it might not even be optimized for right now, but I don't know, man. It's fighting game tech on Twitter. It's so bad. It's so bad. Regardless, again, I will state that all of this stuff is like stuff that can be used to beat Blanca, and stuff that Blanca can use to beat certain characters. So it's a whole mix of stuff. Tried to get a whole good mix in there. Now, speaking of beating Blanca's stuff, talked about it earlier, but those Blanca balls, man. I would say if you play Blanca, test someone's ability to punish your Blanca ball. And also, if you play against the Zangief, just do it anyway, because he doesn't have a reliable way to light punch Blanca ball. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, what this goes through, Shinxfucker went through and made a list of everything that every character can do in response to blocking light punch or EX Blanca ball for every character in the game. Went through character by character. This list exists for every game what Blanca exists in, where a Blanca ball is punishable. This is a thing that people need to know, and it needs to exist in list form, and here it is. It's linked right here. This was also shared in the Blanca character discussion, I believe, as well. Also, that Twitter Moments thing was shared in the Blanca weekly character discussion as well. As long as also, like, most of these things that we've talked about have been added to that character discussion, but that's sticky, and that'll be in the wiki for our Street Fighter. It's a couple clicks away, but you can find this stuff, folks. And so another thank you to Shinxfucker, went through and listed out every single punish criteria for Zangief. It's annoying AF. However, I will say that Zangief can flex it. He can flex it, and if it's like timed already, he can dash forward afterwards. But you gotta flex it, can't block it. Don't you be blocking that ball. Alright. Enough Blanca talk. Let's get into business. Not quite esports, not quite yet, but I want to give a shout out to this post. This one was by Arcadas 1992, and you know how there was that post a while ago around the release of AE of, what's the fight money breakdown like, and how's that going to change, how many characters can you afford with just earning fight money? And then they said they were going to take away what fight money is going to be earned, and then people misconstrued that for there won't be any fight money rewarded, but then you still get fight money from experience. Well, in that case, Arcadas 1992 made a post to Steam forums saying exactly how much fight money you can earn by doing the basic stuff. So it's like how much character costs, how much stages cost, versus how much you can earn through character story, how much you can earn through the demonstration, trials, survival, easy, and normal. He gets into other stuff as well, like weekly missions and like extra battles, that kind of stuff, of how much you can earn from the current state of Street Fighter V Arcade Edition as it exists now, if you were to buy it right now. So if you're on the fence, if you have not bought AE, and you haven't owned any previous version of the game, and you're just going to buy AE, this is a good breakdown of like, well, here's like the path, if you want to math it out in your head, of how to get to through season 3, I should say, without spending any more actual money. Then this is a good way to look at it. It includes a lot bit of grind right here. It's a lot of grind. Survival, normal, and easy is it's a bit of a time sink, but the character story and demonstrations, the trials, that stuff, the challenges, that stuff, you can burn through that. Well, maybe not for a brand new player, but you can work at it. You can earn that money and not have to pay for the next season of characters. But now getting into the esports, big money esports is here, folks. The CEO says so. This was just and I think we could have all seen this one coming. It makes sense because he's been talking about esports. But this was a message to the investors from Capcom CEO, basically saying that this next year, 2018 is year one esports. So they're going full esports. If you didn't think they were full esports already, guess what? They haven't even begun to esports yet. This is basically a statement saying so to their investors, so maybe it seems like they're doing something. But I mean, that's it's interesting. It's interesting to see that, and then immediately followed by the next things we're going to be talking about, which is the Capcom Pro Tour and like where Marvel Infinite lies within this announcement, the Versus series, and kind of what that means, and how it's not at EVO, and where things are at EVO. Will Street Fighter V be the main game? How many entrants are there in Dragon Ball FighterZ? Who knows? So that's all well and good, and I think that might set up to talk about the next bit of discussion, which is the Pro Tour schedule. It's up, and I think that the main thing that you want to take a look at is the premier events. That's going to be your main ticket to earning enough points to find your place in the Capcom Cup Pro Tour, because I think we're gonna house this all together, and if you want a full breakdown of the points, I would recommend watching this next video shared by Brian F, where he goes through and goes like point by point. He does a points breakdown basically of how much premier events are worth, how much EVO is worth, how much ranking events are worth in terms of global and regional points, and what that means to a player who's trying to make it to Capcom Cup. And effectively, what he comes to the conclusion of is that if you have the ability to travel to premier events and maybe get out to a bunch of other ranking events, then that gives you a much better chance to find that seat at Capcom Cup, earn your spot in top 32, than if you don't. Especially if you don't live in North America, because like now we're talking, when we go through this list, it's like the premier events, the majority of them are in the US, and if getting a hold of a green card is a difficult thing for you, then like it is I saw that posted from a number of people within the FGC. I know it's been a problem for Big Bird, and it's like for Mena as well. He doesn't necessarily need to gain Capcom Pro Tour points this season because he's guaranteed that spot as the returning champ. I didn't think about his plan, because I mentioned this last week that he's got that team, the Tigers. God damn, that design is so cool. If you haven't looked up Mena's team, like that patch, the color scheme, all of it just looks so good. That's what I'm talking about. I talked about it either last week or the week before. But I wonder if his actual plan is to just help Dominican Republic earn points and get them to more regional premieres instead of competing them in himself. He'll probably still compete because he's a competitor. You can't just be sponsored and not compete. That doesn't make much sense. But he'll probably be more so focused on getting people out there, so Dominican can represent. I don't want to speak for the guy. I haven't talked to him about it, but that makes things interesting considering the position that he's held on, what he wants to do for his community versus what things might look like in the next calendar year here, because a lot of the major points earners are in the U.S. I mean, just this March there's 2 in the U.S., 2 premieres in March, and then 1 in Asia. and just every month kind of looks a similar breakdown as that. That's not just a one-off thing. There's just a lot more events in the US than there are in any other region, which is unfortunate if you are someone who's just trying to make splash in the FGC or just the CPT at large. If you want to get your name out there or be a threat as a player, I am increasingly interested in what I'm not so much interested in I'm very let me rephrase this. I'm very interested the way that the points breakdown works and how many points you earn for getting like first and second in premieres and at Evo versus the lowered points values for lower ranks, like versus the way more points that you get for a premiere versus the way less amount of points that you get for a ranking event. And it's like, I am actually not so much interested in top 16 who are going to be making it to, like, in terms of points leaders. I want to see what those bottom 16 look like. I wonder how the field's going to shake out. Because what if someone wins 2 premiere events? What if someone wins Evo and another premiere? Points-wise, that's kind of a lock. I mean, I don't want to say that out loud, like, as in general, because there are definitely ways to get... No, that's a... Fuck that. That's a lock. That's a lock. Because there would be no way for 32 other people to make more points than you, or 31 other people to make more points than you. So, like, in that sense, I'm way more interested in seeing the point value of the 31st entrant, because 32 goes to last chance qualifier. That would be fascinating to me, of like, what is that minimum number that can get you in? What's it going to be? Is it going to be in the thousands? Because if you're not getting, like, first and second, like, shit, man, like, ranking events barely break 100 points. Barely break 100 points. And if you want to talk about the points breakdowns, I'm not going to get into it that much in this episode of the podcast. Or maybe really any episode of the podcast. I think there have been other places to listen to, like, for example, just the very next link that I'm going to share is Brian F. doing a walkthrough of the CPT, the rules, the points, and the schedule, and what that might mean. I would probably recommend going to listen to that. It's like a 12-minute breakdown. I think I'm not really bumping up on time, but I haven't seen my wife like all week. It's like, it's audit season where she is, and my dude, she came home. This is kind of an aside, but she came home she had left work at 7, and she works like right. It's not very far from where we live, and she didn't get home like 7 a.m. Left for work. Didn't get home until 12:30 a.m. of the next day. And then after she came home at 12:30, she continued to work at home. I think I have a pretty good work ethic, but she's the strongest fucking person I've ever met. Like, ever. And then she woke up went to work at 7 again today. Like, damn, what a season. Just to continually be on with your brain at a thing where, like, you need to be right, and it would behoove you not to, like, move a decimal, for example. Damn. And I think that today they're filing or whatever, and I'm about to get a text message soon of show up at this bar. So that's where I'm headed in a little bit. Cheers, folks. So if you do want that breakdown, I would recommend listening to Brian F. talk about it. He kind of talks about the meta as well, and I tend to agree with him. But also, I'm also very interested in, and I don't think he brings this up, but where 13 through 31, how do those points shake out? Because the point spread is pretty ridiculous. Well, that covers all of the major topics for this week, which leaves us... Oh wait, no, I lied. Not the major topic. I should also say Evo registration is open. Get your registration in as early as possible, and like keep your tabs open for hotel checks of like how expensive hotels are, because Vegas is seemingly gets more expensive every year, and try and make plans for that. Food is always expensive. What I always try to do for Vegas, and this is kind of like a side tip, when you get there, usually my wife and I plan something to do beforehand, then like lead into Vegas, because we live kind of across the country. But when you get there, we like to have a car, or at least find a way to get out to like a grocery store. There are a couple that are just like right outside the strip that you can get to that are like normal human being grocery store prices, which aren't strip prices, or like that CVS prices or whatever you're gonna encounter. And just get like general stuff, like if you drink alcohol, like get your alcohol there, and then like just have it there. Because I remember last year, at least, like it was. I actually remember last year when it was in that convention center, they didn't check bags and people could bring in alcohol. Good story of, it's another story for another time, but you could like bring in any kind of water, any kind of stuff, and like if you get out to a grocery store, get like a bunch of water. I got cases of water, big water that we couldn't drink. Like, also get a lot of water because the fucking desert, and you will be dehydrated 100% of the time. And we ended up like not even using all of it at that point. We ended up not even using all the alcohol we bought because we were just like, well, we planned ahead. But anyway, that's just my Vegas advice, which does not give you any advice for Evo advice, I understand. But registration is open, and just start thinking about your plans. Even though it seems like it's like so far in the future, it's more than a couple months away, but think about it. Have that one in your back pocket, because it'll come up on you sooner than you think, and the hotel prices may or may not be more expensive when it comes closer to the date. It's usually how things work. But anyway, folks, that will actually do it in terms of the normal posts that we're going to talk about this week. And we'll get into the final segments of the show. One of quickly becoming some people's favorite segment is the shitpost of the week. That's right, folks. I dig through all the muck, all the humor, all the fluff posted to our Street Fighter. There's been a lot this week because of Blanca. I understand. I did a little bait and switch last week. You thought there was going to be some Blanca memes. That's going to be the shitpost of the week. I get it. I'm right there with you. I would have made that same guess as well. However, not the case. No, I lied. That's the case again. We have Blanca this week. This week's shitpost of the week is actually, I know, it's really cute. Look at that. Kujo Kate made a Blanca-chan. She made a Blanca-chan. Blanca-chan's so cute and also horrifying and disgusting. That's cool. Give Kujo Kate some love. Follow her on Twitter. She's also a pretty active member of the FGC. Look at that Blanca-chan in a bathroom where he belongs, next to a toilet. That's neither here nor there, folks. That is the shitpost of the week, so congratulations to you, Kujo Kate. Shitpost bathroom. Anyway. Okay, now one of my favorite segments is getting into FGC history. This is the part where we talk about a match that happened in the past. And again, I'm going to go along with that Blanca theme. I'm going to talk about one of the games where Blanca was one of the top characters in that game. That's right, folks. I'm talking about CBS 2. Now, if you're not familiar with I'll get into that in a second. The match I'm bringing up is Daigo versus Bucktooth, Evo 2016. This is in top 8. Loses side of the bracket. And Blanca was a very strong character. There were a lot of strong, like, charge characters, like Vega, Bison, and Blanca. Daigo's team were, like, pretty simple characters, like, pretty simple, very strong characters. In A Groove, with, like, you'd have roll Blanca specifically because of roll canceling. Like, you roll, you do your light punch, light kick, roll, cancel it into like electricity, and now you have an invincible startup electricity for a varying amount of frames. And that was just like super strong, like that into hop to get through a lot of things, or that into Blanca, like roll cancel into Blanca ball, super strong. And that's super fun. This was a very strong form of Blanca's. Normals were super good. The reach on those normals was fantastic. It's great stuff. Just a very strong character in general. But what I want to bring up is Bucktooth. Bucktooth, what a team. Choosing a groove, N groove, which is at this point in time in 2006 was considered kind of one of the lesser grooves. Like N groove wasn't that great. If people were going to choose a groove like it, they would choose C groove because it had a lot of similar aspects, but generally better. But man, Bucktooth making it work, and the way that this match ends is, it is fantastic. It's a close set, best 2 out of 3, and oh man, is it good. Just reminds how godlike Bucktooth was, but also just a reminder that Blanca was very godlike in this game, and that Daigo played Blanca. Think about that. Like, that's another one of the things that I always love to bring up, is that Daigo has this like sense of, or people have this sense of Daigo as, oh, he's the Ryu character, and he's even expressed like deep remorse over like, oh, I have to play Ryu. I am the Ryu player. And it's like, my guy, you played Blanca in CVS 2 and Bison and Vega. Like, get out of here, man. Like, don't even, just pick top tier. All right, folks, I would highly recommend looking into that, and also like giving some love to CVS 2. It's a good game. Didn't have online, but hey, it's a very fun game to watch whenever you understand. There's actually some good resources to. I should probably do that next week. I should put together some resources, a list of resources into getting to learn how to play CVS2. Hey, you guys, remind me to put together a list of resources to learn how to play a CVS2. And because if I just was mentioning A groove and N groove, and that didn't make any sense to you, that's a whole other conversation of how those grooves work. Like A groove, for example, you could have custom combos, and like some grooves would allow you to roll, and that's why some grooves were like, well, you can't roll cancel with this, so this is less useful, but not entirely not useful, like K groove or whatever. But neither here nor there. Not so much a big deal. We'll worry about that in the future when I have to put together this list of things to how to play CVS2. But anyway, folks, that'll do it. That's a show. Just got a text from my wife. I'm going to head on out and see her for the first time in like 2 weeks. But hey, you guys have a good time. You guys stay safe, all right? I'll see you around next week. That's right, folks. That's another episode of RSF Radio. We run the show every week, and sometimes release a bonus episode. If you didn't listen to that bonus episode with Christy, he has some capital O opinions. We talk about that. Gets into some FGC philosophy, which I find a little bit revealing. And I just let him talk there for a little bit. And I think it's a good listen in general. That's the episode that released right before this in the same feed. I've been releasing the bonus episodes in the same feed. I think that people have been okay with that. I haven't seen anyone say that they were not okay with that. So when there are like interview new Challenger episodes, I'll just keep it in the same channel for now. It's not getting out of hand. Not right now, at least. And if you're looking where you can contact this podcast, you can find that at Reddit SF, or you can just at me at Super Joe Monday on Twitter, or you can just reply to this post on Reddit, or you can reply in the form of like an iTunes review or something along those lines, or reply in the comments of the YouTube video. It goes up pretty much everywhere. But anyway, folks, that'll do it. That's the show. I gotta run. I gotta get out of here. I gotta skedaddle. But we'll see you guys again next week. But until that time, take care, folks.